I had so many things that I wanted to discuss on today's episode. I had so many plans for things to talk about. I printed them all up. I had that many things to talk about. And then Marvel just came in and was like, oh hey, can we see those plans? Oh, those are some real pretty plans. Oh, you know what, you should feel proud of these plans. These are some darn fine plans. Your plans! Who told you you can make plans? We didn't say you can make plans. You make plans when we say you can make plans. Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to another episode of Comic Class, the show every single Wednesday on this channel where we just geek out about comic books, and today I had many things that I wanted to talk about, but as I said, none of that matters anymore, because you know how Marvel has been revealing a couple of their new titles that they have coming out in the fall over the past couple of weeks. In fact, I even did an episode on last week talking about the books that had already been revealed. You can click on it right there to go to it. There you go. Alright. Well, they decided, why wait? Why tease us any longer? They did this last year when All New, All Different Marvel was being announced, and they put out a magazine that just revealed everything. Revealed all the books, all the creative teams, didn't give you any information on the book, but that was great because it caused everyone out there to just start speculating, just start going, oh, what could this mean? What could this book mean? They did the exact same thing and it came out today. You can go to your comic book store right now and pick up this magazine, and has a one-page preview of every single one of these new books that are coming out and of the returning books. That is something that I have to point out. This is not All New, All Different Marvel where they relaunched everything. This is just a new line of books coming out and is a new jumping on point for all the books that are currently going on. So all the books that are continuing, that are not being relaunched back to number one, they also have previews in there. Now last year when they did this with All New, All Different Marvel, I went through and gave you an in-depth description of everything that we knew about these books, and I gave you my opinions about the preview images that we got, about the brief description that we got, and about the writer and the artist working on the book. And I'm going to do the same thing again this year. However, last year I only had one show that came out a week. Now I've got about 3 or 4 shows that come out every single week, so I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker, but I'm also going through them a little bit quicker simply because this year we kind of know a lot about these books already, and a lot of these books, as I said, they're returning series, and they're ongoing series, and we've already been reading them, so there's not that much to talk about. So rather than dividing it into 5 different shows to cover all of this like I did last year, I'm going to divide it into 3. And they're going to come out throughout the rest of this week. So, they might not be big episodes, but I am going to cover everything and give you all of my feelings about all these preview images. Okay, let's stop stalling and get into it. Although speaking of stalling, I highly apologize for the fact that I just realized because I am wearing such a dark black shirt and I have such bright lights, my face is going to be like a light bulb throughout this entire video, but because I just realized this now, it's too late to go back and re-record everything. So, deal with it? I'm bad at YouTube. Now, before I start covering all these books, there is something that I have to make clear, which is that many people looked at that list of 60 books and said, okay, so that's all the books that are coming out in October. No. It says there these books start in October. Marvel doesn't want to do like the New 52 did, where they just put out all these books from this relaunch all at the same time because they realize you can't check all of them out at that time. They want to give you time to kind of get a feeling for each of these books. Give you a time to sample whichever one you want, not just bombard you with all of them at once. So these books are all going to be coming out in October, November, December, probably even going into January. It's going to take a while for some of these books to pop up. Also, I don't feel like this is all the books that are going to be part of Marvel now. There are many books that they have not revealed to us yet, and what I'm basing that on is that preview image we got for Divided We Stand. Pretty much every character in that preview image is going to have their own book, or they're going to be the leader of a team, or they're going to play some kind of a large role in this new Marvel now. However, there's a couple of characters in there who we're not seeing in this preview magazine. For example, Miss America Chavez. I saw many people online after books like Solo and Full Killer and Slapstick were announced, and they said, how the hell are these characters getting their own book before Miss America Chavez, a huge fan favorite character, gets her own book? She's in that preview image, and yes, she is going to be part of the Ultimates, and the Ultimates still have a book in Marvel now, but I doubt that they would put her up there just to represent that entire team. I have a feeling, and again, I have no connections to Marvel, and after some of the videos I made about Civil War II, I probably never will. However, be willing to put money on the table that right now at Marvel they're going, okay, we put her on the preview image, we have to figure out a way to get her a book by the end of January. Search around, find me the perfect writer for that book, make sure she has a series. So again, I have no inside information on this, but my gut instinct is just telling me she has a book coming. It just wasn't in that preview image because it's just not ready yet. Also, along those same lines, just because the book isn't mentioned here doesn't mean it's been canceled, doesn't mean that it's gone, it just means they're not promoting it as part of Marvel now, and I have to bring that up because there are no X-Men titles anywhere to be seen on this list. Now, talking about the current state of the X-Men over at Marvel, that's a video all in and of itself, but yes, it has been common knowledge for a while now that Disney is telling Marvel, don't use the X-Men. Don't play them up. Don't put them in anything that you don't have to. Don't put them in any promotional stuff. But that doesn't mean that they're going to just go ahead and cancel them. However, considering the fact that the only X-Men related book to appear on this list anywhere is called Death of X, it's not exactly encouraging. But yeah, I promise you I will at some point make a video talking about the current state of the X-Men over at Marvel, but it is a big bag of upsetting. But okay, let's go ahead and start, and because this is the first episode, I'm going to cover all of the returning books. I'm going to cover every single one of these books that is not going back to number 1, they're not changing up the writer and artist team, they're going to keep it exactly the same. However, many of those books are going to have a huge new storyline beginning. Something is going to change in that book, and I'm going to give you my feelings about those changes. And for those books that don't look like they're changing, I'm going to give you my feelings on how those books are right now, and whether or not you should check them out when this new storyline begins. Now, these first 4 books that I'm going to talk about, I'm lumping them all together because they all fit into one category, which is the books that I was 100% convinced that Marvel was going to cancel during Marvel Now, and they're not. In fact, not only are they not canceling them, they're promoting them as part of this, which means they have at least one more storyline in place. And that's awesome, because each of these books are great, and each of them speak to a different audience out there. And I think that's one of the reasons why Marvel is still like, no, we're still going to keep promoting this, we're going to keep this book going, because they realize there is an audience out there that enjoys this book, and they might not enjoy a lot of other books that we put out, so it is very important that we hold on to these books. First one, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. We get like no information from that preview image except that Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is going to continue to exist. That's all I need to know. That book is amazing for little kids, especially little girls. And as I said, I think one of the main reasons why Marvel, even though it might not sell all that great, is going to keep this book around is because they're like, no man, we need that little girl audience. No other major comic book company out there right now is creating a book that is specifically aimed at them. As long as we got this book, we got that market. And that's great. I'm so glad that Marvel realizes that this book means something to a specific audience, so they're going to continue to try and hold on to it. They're going to continue to promote it to get more audiences to check this book out. Same thing goes for Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. There is a huge audience for that book, even though it doesn't sell all that great. But there is a die-hard audience for that book. There is an audience that loves that book. I love that book. That book is great. But again, it is largely young women. It's largely young girls. So I think it's amazing that Marvel is like, nope, that audience loves this book. They don't have a lot of books out there. Continue to give them that book. Next up is Patsy Walker Hellcat. Again, this is a book that I have found to be a blast. I really enjoy this book. And again, it is a book that has a very specific audience that it appeals to. This is a fun, goofy, quirky comedy series that is in the same tone as Archie. It's not like really any other comedy book out there. There's tons of other comedy books out there, but none quite with this voice, none quite with this tone. As I said, it is almost like the superhero version of an Archie comic, which sounds weird, but it actually really works. And again, I love that Marvel is like, nope, there's an audience that enjoys this book, so even if it's not our top selling book, we're going to keep it around to make that audience happy. So, alright, way to go Marvel, way to go Marvel. Also, Jubilee is going to be joining the cast of that book. Cool. I don't know why she's there, but cool. I guess Patsy needs a new friend now that She-Hulk. Oh, I just made myself sad. And lastly on my I swear I thought this book was canceled, but Marvel is continuing to put it out there and promote it, so good for you Marvel list, is Spider-Woman. I love the hell out of Spider-Woman. That is one of my absolute favorite books that Marvel is putting out. Jess, the main character, she is such a lovable curmudgeon. She is that person who has been around, she's seen everything, and she is just sick and tired of it, but she's going to go out there and continue to be a badass, and just continue to be a detective and a superhero, even though she has got a witty, snarky comment for everything. And ever since that book came back during All New, All Different Marvel, she has now become a mother. And the writer of it, Dennis Hopeless, decided to start writing the series like that, make her a mother, after he and his wife actually had a child. And as you read that book, you go, oh my god, this is written from someone who just became a parent. Because I have seen a lot of superheroes have kids in books. I have never seen any of them cover what it's like quite like this book. Like, granted, I don't have a kid, but as I read this, I went, oh my god, this is coming from such a real place. And yet, it didn't take anything away from Jess as a superhero or Jess in her role as a detective. In fact, it added a new element to it and actually made the story that much better. I am loving that book so much. And as I said, with those other 3 books, they are aimed at young female readers, and there aren't a lot of books out there that are aimed at them. That's great. I don't know what the audience is for Spider-Woman. It might just be me. I've seen a lot of female readers love this book. I've seen a lot of male readers love this book. So I don't know if it's being aimed at a specific audience or if it's just trying to get everybody in there. But as I said, I absolutely love that book, but it does not sell nearly the numbers that I hoped it would. But again, I think it's just that they go, listen, there's no other book out there featuring a mom as the protagonist right now, so yeah, we are absolutely going to keep this around. And we see that the Hobgoblin is now going to be the villain in it. I don't know if it's going to be, Kingsley, or if it's going to be Philip Urich. I don't know which Hobgoblin it's going to be. Probably Kingsley, but if it's him, good, because I always loved him as the Hobgoblin. I think it's going to be awesome to see him in those pages. So yeah, I think it's great that she's going to be going up against this big A-list villain, and I can't wait to see what they do with that. Alright, these next group of books all fit into a category I like to call nothing to see here, folks, because each of these books, you look at the preview image and you go, that's the book. That's the book that has already been existing, and nothing is going to change in that book. So if you've been enjoying the book as it is, awesome. If you haven't been enjoying the book as it is, move along. There's nothing to see here, folks. So yeah, I'm just going to run through each of these books really quickly. As I said, I'm still going to give you my opinion on each of these books, but, there's nothing really new to discuss. First up is Captain America Steve Rogers, and I have to admit, even though I flat out love Captain America Sam Wilson, and this book is being written by the exact same guy, I still don't know how I feel about this book yet. I think he's writing the villains incredibly well. Nick Spencer has always written amazing villains, and I love the way that he writes the villains in this book. However, the whole Captain America being brainwashed to be a member of Hydra, by the way, I called it in that theory video. Well, like 90% called it, but that's still like an A-, so I still get credit. But I think that, honestly, I don't know what to think about it. Because as I said, I called it, I knew what was going to happen, but I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know how this story is going to unfold. I know that in the end, Cap is going to break free of this mind control and he's going to punch the Red Skull in the face. That's why I didn't really have a problem with the whole idea of Cap being brainwashed to be a Hydra agent. I know because it's part of a storyline in which he will overcome it and prove that his virtues aren't greater than Red Skull's and he can never be defeated. So it's like, okay, I understand that. I still have to see how Nick Spencer is going to do that. How he is going to get us to that point and what will be the aftermath of it. And judging from this preview image, that's exactly what's going on. He is still a brainwashed member of Hydra, so, nothing has really changed. Next up is Daredevil, and Daredevil will still be written by Charles Soule, and Charles Soule is doing an okay job on it. It's, it's fine. I think people are being overly harsh on this book, and that might even include myself, simply because the last couple of writers to work on this book have been amazing. So for Charles Soule to be okay, it kind of makes it look a little bit worse than it is. But in the end, I still think he's doing a pretty decent job on the book. But the preview image for this shows Daredevil against a wall and it says, "Man without faith." And every single writer who works on Daredevil, there comes that point in which they go, oh, I should probably tackle the fact that he's a man of faith, but he goes out at night and beats people up. And his faith actually is a big part of his character. Like, seriously, every single writer who has worked on Daredevil long enough, they've gotten to that point where they had to write that story. It looks like this is now just Charles Soule's time to write that story. Next up is Deadpool. There's not a lot to talk about here other than the fact that Madcap is returning. If you've been reading the current Deadpool series, you know that Madcap impersonated Deadpool and tried to wreck his life. And Madcap is a guy who has powers similar to Deadpool in that he can never really die, and he is kind of cartoonish, but he is way more crazy and evil. And I actually found him to be pretty creepy in that storyline, so if they want to make him return, fine, go for it. I should also, while I am here, go ahead and discuss Deadpool and the Mercs for Money. It looks like they're going to be adding some new Mercs to the team. That's actually kind of cool, because I actually do like the characters that they have in here. They have Hitmonkey jumping in, since Howling Commandos is now canceled. They have Machine Man jumping in, which is awesome, because I loved him in Next Wave. You have Domino there, which, okay, cool. She and Deadpool have a long history. You have a new character who's going to be Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and there was a Negasonic Teenage Warhead in the comics, but that was absolutely not the Negasonic Teenage Warhead that we got in the Deadpool movie, and it is very clear that they are creating a brand new character who is basically going to be that Negasonic Teenage Warhead that we got in the movie. Oh my god, how did I not screw up saying her name that many times? But we're also going to get Gorilla Man! Yeah! Gorilla Man's actually kind of cool, so I'm happy to see him there. Next up, Doctor Strange. Jason Aaron has really redefined magic for Doctor Strange and the effect that it has on his body. They have made it look like magic is a thing that takes a toll on him, and that's a really cool direction to take Doctor Strange. And so far, he's just been introducing new villains, and I've really enjoyed the new villains that he has introduced in that book so far, but it seems like when it gets to this issue, he's going to bring back all of his rogues gallery. And I think that's really awesome because, as I said, Jason Aaron has completely redefined what magic means for Doctor Strange, so that means he has to do it for these villains as well, so I really want to see what he ends up doing with each of them. I'm going to lump these next 4 books all together: Mighty Thor, Moon Knight, Power Man, and Iron Fist, and Punisher. I'm lumping them all together because I looked at these books and went, yeah, okay, it's absolutely still the same book. It doesn't look like anything is really going to change. It's just going to be that story that we've been getting, continuing on forward. And again, that does not mean anything negative. I love each of those books I just described. Punisher, I'm still kind of like, alright, let's wait and see, but Mighty Thor, Moon Knight, and Power Man and Iron Fist are 3 of my absolute favorite books, not just from Marvel, but out there at the store right now, period. I love those books. In fact, at the end of this video, I'm going to put up a video that I made talking all about Power Man, Iron Fist, and Moon Knight because, oh my god, those books are so darn good. And Mighty Thor was my #1 favorite book from last year. I had a top 100 comics video that I made, and spoiler alert, that was at #1. So I'm not going to complain about any of these books going completely unchanged. Although, before I move on, I should point out that the new Mighty Thor storyline does look pretty darn epic. It's going to have the Asgardians fighting the Shi'ar, which sounds huge. So I guess there actually is something big coming to Thor that's going to change it. Huh. You know what, don't listen to me, I'm full of crap, I don't know what I'm talking about. Wait, did I just tell all my viewers not to listen to me? Next up, speaking of books that I absolutely love, Ms. Marvel is returning with the exact same creative team, which is great because I love that creative team on that book, but it looks like after the events of Civil War II, she's going to be kind of depressed and a little bit lost. She's going to be wondering, well, what do I do now? Which makes sense because the hero who she looked up to all this time and admired and inspired her to become a hero herself, she now disagrees with, and she is actually very opposed to. So yeah, she has to wonder, well, now what do I do? Which actually makes a lot of sense for her character. And to everybody out there who is looking at this and going, oh, but they're going to ruin her character. They're going to make her all sad and lonely and depressed. Listen, take it from someone who has been in this comic book game for a long time now. Every single A-class character out there has to go through that phase where they doubt themselves, where they look at themselves and go, why am I even doing this? Can't I just be normal again? And then they take their suit and they throw it in the trash can and they walk off in the distance and they say, no more! This is her time. This is her time to do that. As I said, it's just part of being a superhero where you go through that phase where you doubt yourself. It's part of the hero's journey. Every other character out there has done it. It's now Ms. Marvel's time. If you want to see Ms. Marvel one day become that big, huge, giant superhero who is leading the Avengers, she has to go through this awkward stage where she doubts herself. It just happens. So again, it's just part of the hero's journey. She'll be fine, she'll get over it, she'll be that character you love once again. Speaking of that awkward doubting phase, it looks like in the new Silver Surfer series, which has actually been great. It has been an amazing read. It is one of those books out there that I highly recommend everybody checking out. It is just fun on every level and super imaginative. It's also a great romance. It is a great story about Silver Surfer meeting up with this Earth Girl Dawn, and the two of them just slowly falling for each other. And it looks like in this newest storyline, they're going to go through their awkward stage in which they're like, oh, maybe we need some time apart from each other. But, you know, the entire point behind this book is that it's a love story. They're going to get back together again, but this is just part of that romance. It is part of it. Every single couple goes through it. So they'll be fine. Again, don't worry. And lastly, on the not much is changing front, Thunderbolts. I was a massive fan of the Thunderbolt series back in the 90s. That was one of the best books that Marvel was putting out at that time. I was so looking forward to that book coming back, and then I read the first issue, and I was like, I mean, if you guys like it, then great, good for you. But for me, it didn't really do anything. I was a little bit disappointed with it. But it looks like in the new storyline, it looks like Bucky has finally run out of luck because he's been running around with a bunch of criminals who escaped from the big giant shield prison. And yeah, that's a no-no. You can't do that. You can't pal around with a bunch of convicts who escaped from prison. It doesn't end well for you. And it looks like in the next storyline, it will finally be catching up to him. It looks like Cap and all the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are finally going to catch him. And now we come to the final group of books in our list of returning titles, and these are all the books that look like they're going to have a storyline wrap up, a new storyline begin, or it looks like they're going to have some big epic change coming to the title. Again, I probably should have put Mighty Thor with this list. I wasn't thinking. Too late to change it now. But the first two titles I want to talk about, I'm going to go through them really quickly. Silk and Spider-Man 2099. I'm covering these two really quickly because I have no idea what the hell is going on in either of those preview images. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy both these books, especially Silk. Silk has been a really pleasant surprise. I have really enjoyed that title, and I'm so glad to see that it has a big fan base that is continuing to support this title. But I look at that and it's like, okay, there's Maddie Franklin, she's the old Spider-Woman, she's coming back, and they've got Silk tied up, and J. Jonah Jameson is there, and it says Big Happy Family, and like, I have no idea what any of that can mean. None. And as for Spider-Man 2099, his girlfriend is out of a coma now, and there's two Spider-Man 2099s. Again, I have no idea what that could possibly mean. So, next books. Next up is Black Panther, and I have absolutely been loving the current Black Panther series. I think it is a great interpretation of that character. I think it's a great representation of the nation of Wakanda, and the guy writing that book really knows the history of Black Panther. You constantly get references to his previous storylines, and it looks like the next storyline is going to finally put him into the rest of the Marvel Universe, because so far the storyline has been him in Wakanda and Wakandan politics. It's been very separate from the rest of the Marvel Universe. We see many other superheroes there on that preview image. So it's like, alright, you're gonna see many other superheroes popping up in the next storyline. I think that's actually kind of cool because I love what this writer has been doing with Black Panther. And this is the first comic he's ever written, but he came out and said, I am a huge comic book fan, and as you read Black Panther and you see all the stuff it is referencing, it's like, oh yeah, you really are. You really know your stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see him tackle some other characters. Especially Storm. You're going to get Storm in a Black Panther book again. I can't wait to see what he does with that. Next up is Black Widow, and I've really been enjoying Mark Waid's Black Widow series. It's a book that really captures that tone of those old Cold War spy thriller series, but at the same time, it's jam-packed with action, and it really captures the voice of Natasha, and it really delves into her history and is doing some really interesting stuff with that. And so far in this book, a mysterious figure has been blackmailing Natasha so that she will go out and commit deeds for him, and the preview image we get here says no more secrets and has her going into what looks like a giant base. It looks like this is going to be the conclusion to the first storyline. Might even be setting up the next one. I can't really tell what's going to happen, but that's because they're secrets. It's a big mystery. We don't know what this thing is that Natasha is being blackmailed with. We don't know what happened in her past. So it's great that we're finally going to get to discover that. Next up is Captain America Sam Wilson, and I already mentioned it in this episode, but I'm going to bring it up again. I flat out love the Captain America Sam Wilson book. That to me is the Captain America book that we need right now, because it's a book that finds a way to take those big, colorful, bright superheroes that we've been reading about and finds a way to put them right smack dab in the middle of real world issues, of real world political issues and real world social issues. I don't even want to bring up what the current storyline is because I don't want to bring this whole episode down, but it is actually really topical. It is actually frightening how topical it is, and it's one of the only books out there that is actually addressing this issue. So yeah, this book has continued to blow me away. I have loved it. And if you look at this preview image, it says, "Take back the shield." Now, if you've been reading the current storyline, you know that a bunch of political pundits and congressmen and news anchors are all coming out and looking at Sam Wilson going, "Oh yeah, that was nice what you did, but give Cap back his shield. Give Steve Rogers back his shield, because that's the Captain America that we like. You're too much of a liberal hippie beatnik. You shouldn't be Captain America. You don't represent the things that I believe in. This is the Captain America that we want." And the fact that this preview image is "Take back the shield" makes me think that all of that is going to be leading to the next big storyline. It's going to lead up to kind of a head where everybody is going to kind of have to face Sam Wilson and say, "It's time that you give back the shield." But one of the things I love about the current storyline is that Sam Wilson, he's been full of doubts. He's been full of doubts himself of going, "I don't know if I should be Captain America." I mean, Steve was Captain America to me, but he's slowly beginning to realize there's things that I'm tackling that Steve never did. There's things that I'm doing that actually are important. There is a reason why I need to be Captain America. So, worst case scenario, this is a storyline where he quits being Captain America. Best case scenario, this is the storyline in which he comes up and goes, "No, I'm not giving back the shield because I am Captain America, damn it. I do represent something, and what I represent is important." So, I'm really hoping it's that second one, because I love Sam Wilson as Captain America. And next, speaking of asking people to give something up, Guardians of the Galaxy. The preview image for this says grounded, and it's very clear that they are going to be stuck on Earth, which, you know, it's an interesting storyline. You could do some cool stuff with that. But the thing that is really important is it says that it is going to be the final storyline from Brian Michael Bendis. Oh my god, thank you. Holy cow, because Guardians should be one of their biggest books. It should be an epic series that everybody is talking about, and yet even the people who enjoy Brian Michael Bendis' Guardians of the Galaxy are like, "Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you know, I read it. It's, you know, it's just got the characters I like in there." Bendis, I will admit, when he first took that book over, I was like, "You know what? This is interesting. I'm enjoying some stuff in here," but the moment that the movie came out and he had to make that team more like the movie, it was like, wow, I just don't care about anybody on this team anymore. And Bendis, you know, he used to be known for being kind of jokey, so he should be a good fit for this, but I really just don't care about anyone in his series, and I hate the pacing of it. Bendis has always had weird pacing in his books. His Guardian series has some of the worst pacing of anything he's written, so yeah, man, listen, you got on there, you got people talking about the book, because any book that you write, it gets people talking, so kudos for you for getting people hyped for that series before the movie even came out, but you've been there for a while, it's time you leave, so thank you, please get off that book. Next, Totally Awesome Hulk. I've really been enjoying Totally Awesome Hulk. I really like Amadeus as the Hulk. I think it is a great new spin on that character. They recently started delving into Amadeus' own anger issues, and it is causing him to kind of have a little bit of a conflict with his own personal Hulk, kind of like Bruce Banner did. So they are bringing back a little bit of that old Hulk in there, but at the same time, it does still feel really new and different, and I think it is really speaking to an audience that wants more fun books, and I think that's great. And Greg Pak is the writer of this book, and he's always been a guy who has been big on representing people who haven't really been represented in books before, and that's one of the reasons why he was such a champion of characters like Amadeus Cho. And it looks like in this new storyline, he is going to gather together a team of other Asian American superheroes, and I think that's pretty awesome. We're going to see Shang-Chi, we're going to see Miss Marvel, we're going to see Silk. I think it could be really fun getting all those characters together, so I am definitely looking forward to this. Next, I'm going to put these two books together because they're going to have a storyline that crosses over into each other. Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen. We are going to see Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy team up and then start a relationship. I have feelings about this, and most of it is all coming from the fact that Brian Michael Bendis is going to be one of the writers. Listen, I know I'm getting tired of complaining about this guy too. I'm so sorry, but listen, I've been loving him on Miles Morales. I think that book is great, but there's something that he does whenever he writes a team book that really frustrates me, and that is that he just has characters hook up just to hook up. It's almost like he feels like that is the best way to create drama and stories between a man and a woman, is just to have them hook up. I can't tell you how many weird relationships started when he was writing the Avengers, and then those relationships would just be gone because they're like, I just moved on to something else. Remember when Hawkeye started dating Echo for like one issue and none of that was ever resolved? Yeah, that happened constantly all throughout his book, and it happened all over the place on his X-Men series. That was like a love pentagon over on that book, in which people were just hooking up left and right on that series for like no reason at all. It was insane. I am so tired of him just having characters hook up because he's like, yeah, that'll create a good story. Okay, calm down, find your center. But it looks like this is what this is going to be as well. I don't know if anything is going to come from this because, as I said, he is also known for starting relationships and then just forgetting that he did that and dropping them. But the other thing that's really frustrating me about this is that Gwen Stacy is a high school graduate. She's at least 19 years old. Isn't Miles Morales a freshman? Isn't he like 15? I mean, he might be older. I know he was 15 in the Ultimate Universe. I'm assuming he's older now in the regular Marvel Universe, but I really need Brian Michael Bendis to come out and say exactly what Miles' age is, because a 19-year-old Gwen Stacy hooking up with a 15-year-old Miles Morales is weird to me. Next is Squadron Supreme, and in the very first issue of Squadron Supreme, they killed Namor and destroyed Atlantis. That was huge, and it got people talking and made everyone say, oh my god, the Squadron Supreme is actually going to change the Marvel Universe. They're going to do huge stuff in the Marvel Universe, and ever since then, they haven't really done much. They went to Weird World, and they fought a Skrull. They haven't really done a whole lot since then. And when I saw his preview image, it became very clear, oh, Namor is coming back to life, or he wasn't dead in the first place. Okay. So you're not actually really changing that much in this book. I know this one should get me excited, but instead it made me look at the Squadron Supreme book like, oh, you're not really affecting as much stuff as I was hoping, so I'm not that excited for you anymore. So next book. Next up is a book that I've been meaning to talk about for a while because it was a book that when it was announced, I was 100% opposed to. It was a book that frustrated me by its very existence. Unbelievable Gwenpool. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Gwenpool is a character who was created during a variant theme cover month, in which for 1 month, every single Marvel book out there had a variant cover that featured Gwen Stacy as one of the characters in that book. And on the Deadpool book, they had Gwenpool, in which it was Gwen Stacy dressed up as a Deadpool character. And everybody saw that and went, oh, okay, that's a thing. Alright, whatever. And then Marvel looked at that and said, what's that? You guys love Gwenpool? And everybody was like, no, we didn't say that at all. And Marvel was like, we knew you loved her. That's why we're gonna give her a book. And when they put the solicitations for the book out there, they kept saying, oh, you know you want to read it. And I was like, don't tell me what I want to read. That is one thing that frustrates me so much with comics, movies, anything in the entertainment industry. When the people at the top come out and say, we know you want it, it's like, no, you don't. This is something that you're trying to force on us and convince us that we want it. Literally nobody out there was talking about Gwenpool. This was not an internet sensation. This was not something that everybody was talking about. This is something that you created. And let's be totally honest, one of the reasons they created it is because Marvel Studios currently does not own the rights to Deadpool. Fox owns it, and Disney is telling Marvel Comics to not promote any character that they don't own. And because Deadpool is so huge, Marvel can't really help but promote them, so they're currently trying to create a parody character, a rip-off character. They're trying to create their own Deadpool character who they do own that they could maybe do something with at one point in time. That's the entire point behind Gwenpool. That's the only reason she exists. So I was totally opposed to this book. This book is actually kind of good. I hate saying that, I really do, but I actually do kind of like Unbelievable Gwenpool. The idea behind Gwenpool is that she is a character from the real world who got sucked into comics, and she was a huge comic book fan, and now she is using her knowledge of Marvel Comics to go around and be an expert hitman in that world. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, that sounds stupid. But when you start reading it, first off, it actually is kind of clever and witty and fun, I have to say that. But also, when we first saw Gwenpool, she was being just way too perfect. It was like, I'm just gonna go around and have fun and destroy everything in the Marvel Universe and everyone's gonna love me. But then, by like the end of the first issue, something happens that makes her go, oh my god, this is not all fun. The Marvel Universe is dangerous. This is really messed up and I'm freaking out about this. And then over the course of the next couple of issues, it really does show that she is in over her head. It shows that, no, I didn't know what the heck I was doing being in this universe. Yes, I have knowledge of all this, but if I go up against Thor, I'm dead. Like, she actually does go up against Thor, and it is not some fun romp. It is her going, oh my god, she's going to murder me with lightning. This is horrifying. I was like, oh my god, I'm actually kind of relating to this character because that's how I would act in that situation. God, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Gwenpool, a character that was created solely so that Marvel could have a Deadpool ripoff character and was solely created as a marketing ploy, is actually one of the more human characters that Marvel has right now. It's actually a pretty good book. And what happened is because she was out there just goofing around in the first issue, she ends up killing a high-ranking henchman for MODOK. And then MODOK came in and was like, well, you killed him, so now I'm going to hire you. You now work for me. And she's like, MODOK, you're just a big walking head. Ah, MODOK, you're trying to threaten me. This is funny. And then MODOK actually shows that he actually is really powerful and something that she should take seriously. He is not the big joke character that he's made out to be when you read comics. To a normal human being, he actually would be a massive threat. And we have seen over the past couple of issues, she's been working under him, trying to figure out a way to get out from under him, trying to figure out a way to free herself, and the preview image we got makes it look like she is going to not only defeat him, but actually end up taking over his company. And as I said, the thing that I am really enjoying about the Gwenpool series is just seeing how far in over her head she ends up getting, and if she ends up becoming the head of MODOK's entire corporation, she would be really in over her head. So if they continue that trend and continue that characterization of her, then this could actually be another good storyline. Again, I really cannot believe that I am praising this book that much, but it actually is pretty darn good, I have to admit that. And lastly, speaking of books that Marvel is trying to shove in our faces because they don't own certain movie rights, Uncanny Inhumans. Now, let me just start off by saying, I think the Inhumans are great. I read Paul Jenkins' Inhumans when I was a kid, and that thing blew my mind. And I have enjoyed so many of the other Inhuman storylines that have come out after that. However, the current Uncanny and all-new Inhumans, it's very clear that they're trying to be the X-Men. They're trying to come in and create an X-Men that Disney could own, and it's very frustrating to me because the Inhumans are great. They have their own storylines, their own characters, their own locations, their own stuff going on, and it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. Play into that! Stop creating all this new stuff that just feels like an X-Men ripoff. But I will admit, even though it is just trying to be an X-Men ripoff, I think the book is okay. And in fact, I actually really like a lot of the new Inhumans that have been created. In fact, most of the new characters who have been created have been pretty awesome. It's what they're doing with the older characters that I have more of a problem with, because I look at like Medusa and Black Bolt and go, that's not Medusa and Black Bolt. Stop being that way. And the preview image for this one shows that Medusa is no longer going to be the queen. We see her shaving her head, but I doubt that's actually going to be happening. I think that's more of just a metaphor of her losing her political power as head of the Inhumans. That could be an interesting thing. It does make me wonder who is going to be the new leader of the Inhumans, because Black Bolt is off doing his own thing, and I don't think Karnak wants any part of that. So I don't know who could take over that spot. Maybe Crystal? She seems like the obvious choice. Probably Crystal. That's it for today's episode, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to what at this point must have been a long episode, but in all fairness, I had like 30 some odd books to cover, so can you really blame me for making it that long? But if you want to see the next episode, which is coming out this weekend, I guarantee you that episode is going to be way shorter, because in that episode, I'm going to cover the first half of all the new titles that were announced. So if you want to see that, or any other shows that have to do with the world of geekery, whether it be comic books, video games, movies, or more, then make sure you click that subscribe button. Also, continue to share these videos around the web. It's the best way to help this channel grow. You guys have been doing that a lot lately, and it really shows. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. I can't believe that's happening. That is huge. So thank you guys for all your support. And remember, if you have any questions or comments for me, you can always reach me on Twitter or Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. But for now, I'm just going to say, thanks for watching, everyone. Come back next time.